the sun's out. It's actually really quite warm here at the moment as well. And the rain that was forecast last night largely missed. We'll talk to Sean Patterson, the track manager here at Rosehill, in just a minute. Just going back to that win last night at Moonee Valley from Consensus. They didn't come here because they didn't want to come up against sort of rain-affected track. And I think Stephen McKee has pulled the right rein. Remember that horse last year ran 4th in the Ranvit Stakes here on this day. And one thing we're seeing is that that's form around Melody Bell, isn't it? So she's run 3rd to Melody Bell last time out. Now that's really good form for Dan's Dance, because we're seeing that form stacking up in Australia. Dan's Dance now, I think, 3rd favourite and a tightening 3rd favourite in today's Group 1 Ranvit as well. And she'll really like these track conditions, Michael. So things are looking rosy for the Kiwis today.
Yeah, barrier 1, I thought, Aiden, could be a problem. We did see Very Elegant draw barrier 1 last week on a similar track and cut the corner to win. Opie Bosson is a rider you know very well. Obviously, you've spoken to him. Do you think he's concerned about barrier 1 with the horse who does like to get back in midfield?
It was interesting because they were discussing that in Australian media today, saying that they tended to stay wide early on in the day here at Rosehill last week, but then they went back to the inside. And so maybe by race 6, they might be finding the inside is actually the place to be. Let's find out a little bit more. We're going to bring in Sean Patterson, who manages the track. Sean, first of all, for this, you know, we're back home in New Zealand. We see a heavy track come up, and it's a lot heavier than this. This track's in unbelievable condition, certainly for the amount of rain and the racing last weekend. Just tell us, how much rain did you have this week?
Yeah, look, we're at 132 mils so far for the last 7 days. We've taken 14.5 mil off that. So it's nice to see a little bit of sunshine today, a little bit of breeze up, but the track's in good condition, especially after heavy 10 last week.
We were looking at forecasts, and I know you were yesterday. You've really dodged a bullet, haven't you? How much did you have rain-wise?
Yeah, we only got 3.5 mil. We were watching that radar very closely. I had to put my phone down at one stage because it was driving me nuts. But once it got to Rosehill, it kind of parted. It was maybe a sign that today's racing had to go ahead, and it was a nice sunny day for everyone to come out, so it worked out well.
How do you expect the track to play today?
Yeah, look, I think the traditional, especially on wet tracks, is they're going to get off the fence early on. They generally like to leave the inside for a little bit later on to make sure that it is dried out just evenly. And as you said, around race 5 or 6, they'll get back to the inside. But it's picked up really well since last week. There's a little bit of pitting around, but we've got 90% of that off when we move the rail out to 3 metres. So I'm expecting it to race pretty well today.
I think no horse has been training out on the main track. Maybe one. Did you have one gallop during the week?
Yeah, we had traditionally on a Friday before a race meeting, we get a trainer to gallop on around with a jockey on there. We had trapeze artist with Blake Shin yesterday. Yes, yesterday. It's all coming into a blur at the moment. But yeah, he was adamant that it was just in the heavy 8 range. It was borderline, and it's the same this morning. The Pano hasn't changed really. It was 5.85 yesterday. It's 5.88 today. There's just that little bit of moisture on top, but with this forecast today and the sunshine, we should improve. One
thing, the track seems to have not taken too much harm. Why is that? Just can you explain to our viewers back home?
Yeah, look, we know now that slipper is generally going to get wet. I think the statistic this morning was the last 8 out of 10 slippers have been on a soft or heavy track. So we make sure that we get our drainage right. We've really focused on this year. We've made sure that the plant health is better than it's ever been, and it's holding up what it needs to do.
So a lot of that's about root structure as well, is it?
Yeah, it's just about plant health. We've changed pretty much completely how we used to work. We use a lot more organics and things like that, and concentrate mainly on the roots. If the roots are right and they're grabbing in the ground, the plant will do the rest.
Okay, yeah. Winx has trained here on the track, so I guess you get to see a lot of her. You come to sort of know her, but is it still as exciting for you sort of coming out and preparing a track that you know Winx is going to go around on the day? Oh,
definitely, and we get that thrill weekly, you know, sort of style. So we always sneak up early in the morning and have a quick look, and we get mesmerised, but it's a funny situation today. I haven't thought about racing at all.
Yeah.
I've just thought about making sure the track is as good as it is. And then this morning I'm thinking, oh, well, we've got Winx, we've got Autumn Sun, we've got Red Zell. I said, now the butterflies are starting to pick up.
Absolutely, because I guess the main thing for you is just making sure the track's in great nick. But then you realise, hang on, we've got 5 Group 1s on one of the biggest days in Australia, and like you say, the horse flesh as well.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me at that stage. Yeah, but look, we've done everything we possibly can. The weather hasn't been all that nice to us, but today it's looking good, and it's in the best shape we can possibly present.
Okay, just talk us about today as well. Obviously, the sun's here. It's pretty hot. Well, for us in New Zealand, it's pretty warm. So, for you guys, could you expect an upgrade, or is there rain on the forecast? What's the theme for the day?
Yeah, look, they're predicting a storm later on tonight. They're saying about 5:30 or 6, so that shouldn't affect us. With that 3.5, probably later in the day yesterday, it's just going to sit around that little bit longer. It feels genuine 8 at the moment. I still think it's on that borderline between a 7 and 8. Once we get 2 or 3 races in and then the horses start to chop up the ground a bit, it depends on if the sun's shining and it dries out or that brings a little bit of moisture up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for joining us, Sean, and best of luck for today. Thanks so much for joining us here on Trackside.
No worries, thank you very much.
Okay, so Michael, that's the latest on track conditions. Undoubtedly, this track is holding moisture, but understanding how much rain has fallen here, it is in unbelievably good condition.
Aidan, of the New Zealanders today, would Avantage be our best winning chance in your opinion, or do you think Dan's Dance can beat some of the big names in the Rampant?
Well, that's what we're hoping for, isn't it? And I think Dan's Dance is going to be your Dan's, as she's known, is going to be very hard to bowl. Obviously, that barrier 1 is a little bit of concern. Opie Bosson is flying in this morning. He takes the ride on both of those, as well as Vernon Me as well in the Rosehill Guinea. So he's got a really big day as well. And he also picks up the ride on Zakata for Murray Baker in that Mannion Cup. Of course, Murray Baker also with Andrew Forsman has Vinda Dance in that same race. They both looked terrific yesterday. We've got a really strong hand in that Rosehill Guineas, but I think Dan's Dance, if she can, well, she will cope with these conditions fine. Avantage is going to be fresh up, so maybe it's a touch vulnerable on a testing track, but she was very good at the trials last week. She's won 6 or 7. She's got an unbeaten record fresh. She's got a very good record on slow tracks as well. And this probably presents it that way. It's more like our on the mid-range of the slow rather than a heavy 10 that we know. So on that front, all those New Zealand horses that are here today, and that's where I think they've pulled the right rein with consensus by heading to Melbourne, the ones that are here do handle rain-affected tracks.